Relax, not in the way the world has taught you to relax by escaping reality, but in the way that brings you into harmony with it. Let your soul unclench its grip on worry. Let your breath return to its natural rhythm. For the very act of relaxing is the boldest act of faith. It is the quiet announcement to the universe that you already possess what your eyes have not yet seen. You have been taught that struggle is holy, that effort is sacred, that results come only to those who burn the midnight oil. But creation is not born of exhaustion. It is born of stillness. The seed does not strain to sprout. The stars do not wrestle with gravity. The ocean does not force itself to wave. All these things exist because they rest in the rhythm of their being. So must you. When you relax, you open the doors of your consciousness and allow the invisible to pass through. The energy that shapes planets, the force that holds galaxies together, is the same power working through you. But it cannot work through resistance. It cannot bless what is being blocked by fear, worry, and doubt. Your anxiety is not a badge of dedication. It is a wall between you and what is already yours. To relax is to receive. Not to beg, not to chase, not to plead. You are not here to win the affection of the universe. You already have it. The moment the desire formed in your heart, the moment you felt its pulse in your soul, the universe responded. In fact, the desire itself was the echo of what had already been given. But the gift must find a vessel open enough to hold it. Tension is a closed door. Relaxation is the key. You were never meant to strive for your blessings. You were meant to align with them. Feel into the vision that excites your spirit. Sit with it, not with urgency, but with reverence. Imagine it fully, not as a desperate wish, but as a loving memory. Let it fill your body like warm light. Let it rise up through your chest and breathe itself into the air around you. This is not fantasy. This is creation. And your faith is not measured in effort. Your faith is measured in ease. Stop rehearsing the worst. Stop anticipating delay. The universe is not testing your patience. It is waiting for your belief to calm. There is a higher order already set in motion, and it is perfect. What you think is delay is just divine precision. What you call a detour is just a redirection to something greater. When you relax, you're not doing nothing. You are doing everything that truly matters. In stillness, the truth rises. You begin to see that your outer world is the echo of your inner conversation. If the inner voice is frantic, the outer world reflects confusion. But when the inner world whispers, "I trust," the outer world starts to respond with grace. When you relax, you tell the universe, "I am no longer at war with time. I am no longer doubting the path. I am no longer begging for scraps of hope. This is divine alignment. I know who I am. It is not laziness. And I know what is mine." Do not confuse movement with progress or busyness with creation. You are not here to prove yourself to the world. You are here to know yourself as the world, as the creator of your own experience. And that experience begins with the stillness of certainty. So relax. The door is already open. The current is already flowing. The manifestations you seek are not somewhere far away. They are brushing up against you, waiting for you to let go of the fight. Your role is not to make it happen. Your role is to receive what has already been written for you. The universe is about to give you everything, not because you begged for it, but because you finally remembered you were always worthy of it. Relaxation is not weakness. It is a deep return to truth. It is the moment when the surface noise of your mind dissolves and the still waters of your soul begin to reflect reality as it truly is, not as the world has trained you to believe it is. To relax is not to abandon responsibility, but to realign with the creative power that moves through all things. This is the power you carry, often unnoticed, buried under layers of worry, doubt, and the constant need to fix what was never broken. When you strive, you send out the message that you are lacking, that you are distant from the things you desire. But when you relax, you are stating something far more profound, that what you desire is already near, already present, already yours in the unseen. You become like the calm surface of a lake that perfectly mirrors the sky above. There is no struggle in the reflection. There is only alignment. And so it is with creation. The more you try to control it, the more ripples you create, distorting what is already trying to reach you. There is a rhythm to everything, an intelligent flow that governs the unfolding of life. And this rhythm cannot be manipulated by fear or forced by effort. It must be trusted. When you learn to relax, you tune into this rhythm. You stop fighting the current and instead allow yourself to float within it, knowing that it is carrying you exactly where you need to go. You stop pushing against the tide, and in that surrender you discover an entirely different kind of strength. The strength of alignment, the power of conscious stillness. You have been conditioned to believe that value comes from motion, that success is earned only through toil. But the truth is, the most powerful transformations occur in silence. The seed becomes a tree not by force, but by yielding to the natural intelligence of its own unfolding. The same applies to you. You don't grow by stressing your way forward. You grow by allowing the energy of your intention to move through you, unobstructed by resistance. And resistance often hides itself beneath the appearance of trying too hard, of chasing something as if it's far away, when in truth, it's already within your grasp. To relax is to stop searching for what you already possess. It is the recognition that everything you desire is held in consciousness first, before it is ever seen in form. And once it exists in your awareness, it is already on its way to you. But your state must be receptive. Your energy must become a magnet, not a shield. Worry shields you from your blessing. Doubt deflects what is meant for you. Relaxation, however, opens the gates. It removes the armor and lets the current of life pour into you without interference. The moment you feel the tension in your body, in your breath, in your thoughts, that is your signal. That is the universe whispering to you that you are gripping too tightly, that you are trying to hold together something that was never yours to control. You were never asked to control the how. You were only asked to dwell in the assurance that it is already done. That assurance cannot coexist with fear. It cannot breathe in an atmosphere of panic. It needs the space that only stillness can offer. That space is created through the act of relaxing. You are not a beggar in the universe, you are a creator. But a creator does not constantly hammer and force their reality into shape. A true creator knows the value of letting go. Not letting go of the dream, but letting go of the strain. Not letting go of the vision, but letting go of the fear that it won't arrive. When you release that fear, even for a moment, the universe rushes in to fill the void with possibility. And the more you practice this art of sacred surrender, the more natural it becomes. You begin to see how things unfold not when you demand them, but when you allow them. There is power in the pause, in the moments when you do not know what to do next, and you choose not to panic but to breathe instead. You declare your faith. That breath, that stillness, that sacred silence becomes the most powerful affirmation you can make. It is the declaration that you are not operating from the illusion of separation. You are not chasing life, you are becoming one with it. Imagine the feeling of knowing something good is about to happen, not because you forced it, but because you are finally still enough to feel it. That gentle excitement, that quiet confidence, it does not come from the outside, it rises from within, like a whisper reminding you of what you already know, but forgot in your hurry to fix, to change, to do. Relaxation is the return to that whisper, and in that return, you find your center. You remember that you are the channel through which the unseen becomes seen. And for anything to pass through that channel, it must not be clogged by worry or narrowed by doubt. Every time you relax, you reaffirm your trust. You say to the universe, I am ready to receive. You open the window and let the wind in. You open the soil and let the roots drink. You stop interfering with the miracle that was already in progress. You don't need to scream at the sky to bring the rain. You only need to plant, to rest, and to believe that the cycle is perfect, that it always was. When your body softens and your mind quiets, you are no longer separate from your desire. You are one with it. And that oneness is what brings it into form. The distance between where you are and what you long for is not measured in miles or days. It is measured in faith. And faith is not loud. It is not busy. It is quiet. It is still. It is peaceful. It is relaxed. Let the world keep rushing. Let others run in circles if they must. But you, return to yourself. Return to your breath. Return to the calm, knowing that life is not waiting to punish you or test you. It is waiting to meet you where your belief finally rests. Relax, because in that moment of surrender, you are no longer asking for what you want. You are becoming the space through which it arrives. Desire is not a sign of emptiness. It is a signal of something already fulfilled within the unseen realm. When a desire rises in your heart, it is not the beginning of a journey to gain something external. It is the echo of something already given, seeking expression in this world. You do not desire what does not belong to you. The very longing you feel is the proof of possession, not its absence. But the mind, conditioned by appearances, assumes the desire means you lack it. That assumption builds walls of delay. It tells you to chase, to struggle, to beg. But the truth is much simpler and more powerful. What you want is already yours, and your desire is how it knocks. You must begin to see desire differently, not as a wish whispered into a void, but as an awareness of what already exists, waiting patiently to emerge through you. Just as a pregnant woman feels the stirrings of life before the child is born, so do you feel the stirrings of your desires before they are made visible. You are not separate from what you desire. You are its carrier, its conduit, its womb. It seeks you because it belongs to you. It cannot be stolen or denied. It can only be delayed by disbelief or received through faith. And here lies the secret. The moment you truly accept that your desire is already yours in spirit, you relax. You cease to grasp. You no longer ask whether it will happen. You begin to feel it as already done. That feeling is not imagination in the weak sense of fantasy. It is imagination in its true form, creation. You see, the universe responds not to the words you say, but to the state you occupy. And when your state is one of relaxed assurance, you are living as though the desire has already arrived. That is the key. When you believe that what you desire has already been granted, your entire being changes. Your thoughts become softer, your breath steadier, your actions more aligned. You stop overthinking and start allowing. You stop questioning and start embodying. And in this calm embodiment, your energy becomes magnetic, not through effort, but through presence, not through force, but through resonance. You begin to attract what is yours because you no longer chase it from a place of lack. You walk as if it's done, because in the unseen realm, it is. There is no greater illusion than the belief that your desires are far away. That illusion is born from looking at the world through the eyes of the physical only. But creation does not begin in the world you see. It begins in the world you feel. The outer world merely mirrors the inner one. And if your inner world is filled with longing that feels painful, it is because you have confused longing with loss. But longing is not loss. Longing is life. It is your spirit's remembrance of something that is already real, something that your outer eyes have not yet caught up to. And your job is not to go out and fetch it. Your job is to make space for it by believing it is already here. This is why relaxation is so crucial. You cannot receive what is already yours if you keep treating it like something you have to earn. The universe does not reward those who strain, it responds to those who rest in their truth. And your truth is simple. You are the one to whom this desire has been assigned. If it were not meant for you, it would not have appeared in your heart. If it were not already available to you, it would not feel so deeply personal. So stop questioning the worth of your dream. Stop assuming your role is to chase what you are meant to carry. You carry it already. In your awareness, in your imagination, in the silent knowing that will not leave you alone. That is the gift. It is only when you stop clinging to the outcome that the outcome begins to move toward you. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. When you feel as though you already have what you desire, you begin to act differently. You don't beg for love if you know you are loved. You don't chase abundance if you know it's on its way. And that knowing, calm, silent, and deep, becomes the bridge between the unseen and the seen. The bridge is not built by action alone. It is built by belief. Belief that your desire is not some distant dream, but a seed already planted, growing in a soil you cannot yet see. The impatience you feel is only there because you're looking at time instead of truth. You are measuring what has not happened instead of embracing what is already done in the higher realm. But just like fruit appears after the roots and stems have formed underground, so too will your desire appear once the unseen foundation has been laid. And it is your relaxed acceptance that lays this foundation. Let the desire live inside you not as a constant ache, but as a calm flame. Not a fire that burns you, but a light that guides you. Walk through life knowing you are not here to find your desires, they are here to find you. You have already sent out the signal, already activated the current. Now your job is to hold the state of fulfillment, the state of peace, the state of relaxed faith. That is the space where the impossible becomes inevitable. There is a power in this way of being that defies logic. It is not loud, it is not showy, it is not dramatic, it is quiet. And in its quietness it moves mountains. It rewrites circumstances, it reshapes your reality, but it begins inside, where you stop doubting, stop proving, stop fearing. Where you simply say, if I desire it, it must already be mine, and from that place you rest. You breathe, you receive, you welcome what was already on its way the moment the desire arrived. Because the desire was never a request, it was confirmation. Tension is not a signal of control, it is the sign of resistance. It is the physical and emotional tightening that happens when you do not believe what you seek is already making its way to you. You may say the right words, hold the right vision, even perform the outward rituals of faith. But if your body is clenched with fear and your mind flooded with questions, then the core message being sent is one of doubt. Doubt closes the door, worry locks it, but faith opens it. And not the kind of faith that is noisy or forceful, but the quiet, peaceful kind that comes with relaxation. Faith is not always dramatic. It does not always roar or declare. True faith is often invisible not because it is absent, but because it is deeply still. It is the confidence of someone who no longer needs to chase or control, who has moved beyond the need to prove and has entered the realm of knowing. When you are truly in faith, your actions soften. You no longer grasp. You no longer argue with time. You don't keep checking to see if it's working. You are relaxed because you already believe it is done. This is where the distinction becomes clear. Tension says, I'm not sure. Tension says, I hope this happens, but what if it doesn't? Tension lives in the gap between your desire and your doubt, and it creates friction in your energy. It disturbs the signal you are sending. But faith is a steady frequency. It says, I know it's mine. I may not see it yet, but it is already unfolding. And that kind of faith does not require strain. It thrives in ease. Many people think that if they stop worrying, they're being careless, that if they stop trying so hard, they will lose their chance. But this belief is born from a misunderstanding of how creation works. You are not rewarded for effort. You are not favored because you suffer. You are aligned with what you believe yourself to be. And the deeper that belief, the more peaceful your posture. That peace is not weakness. It is power. The moment you stop sending mixed signals by clinging in fear, the path becomes clear for what you desire to flow toward you. Tension is like a clenched fist trying to catch water. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you open your hand, when you let go, you create space. You create openness. And this openness is what draws your manifestation to you. The universe does not need your stress to work. It needs your trust. And trust is silent. Trust is calm. Trust is felt, not forced. There is a difference between action born from panic and action born from faith. One is reactive, frantic, driven by the fear of missing out or losing ground. The other is inspired, intentional, and rooted in a quiet confidence that what you do is enough, because you are enough. When you move from faith, your steps are light, your energy is clean. You don't carry the heavy burden of what if, because you've already settled the answer within yourself. It will be, or even more powerfully, it already is. Think about how nature operates. The sun does not rise in haste. The moon does not rush into position. Trees do not anxiously sprout their leaves. Everything in nature moves with an inner knowing of perfect timing. And the same intelligence flows through you. But when you tense, you disrupt that flow. You declare without realizing it that you do not believe the process will take care of you. And so you try to take control, which only leads to more disconnection. Tension is often disguised as ambition. It looks like productivity, but it feels like panic. It looks like planning, but it sounds like fear. You don't need to abandon your dreams to relax. You just need to release the fear that says they won't come unless you force them. The moment you allow yourself to breathe deeply, to rest in the present, to carry a vision lightly but confidently, you shift your entire vibration. You move from the energy of chasing to the energy of receiving. You are not here to make it happen through force. You are here to become the version of yourself who naturally attracts what you seek. And that version of you is not tense. That version of you is not riddled with anxiety or obsessed with timelines. That version of you is grounded, serene, and centered. That version of you trusts the process so deeply that even in the absence of evidence, they feel the truth of the outcome. That version of you already lives in the state of having. Not having everything visible yet, but having the certainty that it is already yours. This is not about doing nothing. This is about doing things differently, from a place of peace, from a place of quiet power, from the truth that life flows best when you stop blocking it with your fear. Your job is not to build the whole staircase in one day. Your job is to take the next step in faith, and then pause, rest, breathe. Let the universe do its part while you remain anchored in the belief that it is working for you. Even the smallest act done in faith is more powerful than 1,000 actions done in fear. Even a single calm breath taken with trust is more aligned than hours of planning driven by anxiety. And the beauty is, the more you relax into this truth, the more evidence you begin to see. Things start to shift, not because you pushed harder, but because you finally got out of the way. Creation does not require tension, it requires alignment. And alignment begins in the mind, in the body, in the soul. It begins in the moment you choose to believe that nothing real can be missed and nothing meant for you can be lost. It begins when you stop fighting for your future and start feeling it now. When you relax, you're not giving up, you're tuning in. You're no longer a stranger to your desire, you are a match for it. You're no longer signaling fear, you're radiating faith. And in that state, what is yours can finally see you clearly and move toward you freely. Imagination is the quiet language of creation, and it speaks most clearly when the mind is still. It does not shout or compete with the noise of the world. It whispers truth to those who are willing to listen in silence. When you relax, your inner world softens, and the screen of your mind becomes clear enough to project what you desire without distortion. Most people imagine only in fear. They envision what could go wrong, how things might fall apart, how life might fail them. But true imagination, the kind that creates worlds, is born in stillness. It is not frantic. It is sacred. In the noise of striving, imagination becomes cloudy. When you are trying too hard, when you are consumed with how and when and what if, your creative faculty becomes tangled in resistance. You do not see the end result. You see the obstacles. You do not feel peace, you feel pressure. But when you choose to quiet the mind and rest in presence, imagination becomes vivid. It becomes alive. You can feel the scene. You can sense the outcome. And in that moment, your body does not know the difference between the unseen and the seen. It begins to respond as if it's already happening. And this right here is the doorway through which the invisible. Your imagination is not a fantasy generator. It is a sacred preview of what is already prepared for you in the unseen. But it does not speak through tension. You must be relaxed enough to listen, calm enough to feel, open enough to receive. The great secret is this: when you imagine from a relaxed state, you are not begging for something to happen. You are remembering what already is. You're stepping into the version of reality where your desire has already unfolded. You're becoming it before you see it. Most people live backwards. They wait to see something before they believe in it. They wait to touch it before they trust it's real. But imagination moves in the opposite direction. It says, first feel it, first see it within, first become it in your inner world. And then and only then will the outer world reflect it back to you. But that process does not happen in noise. It does not happen in fear. It happens in deep, sacred stillness. The kind of stillness you enter when you finally trust the process enough to let go. When you sit with your desire in a relaxed state, you're not just daydreaming, you're reshaping your reality. Every thought, every feeling, every sensory detail becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of creation. And the more real it feels to you internally, the more quickly the external must respond. But again, the key is that stillness. You cannot bring something into your life if your energy says, I'm afraid it won't come. You cannot call it in while simultaneously pushing it away with your panic. The moment you relax and imagine joyfully, peacefully, you step into the creative role you were born to hold. Imagination thrives in presence. When your mind is anchored in the now, when you are no longer rushing ahead or looking back, you give space for your vision to live. You start to realize that the imagination is not a tool for escape, it is a tool for embodiment. You are not using it to run from your life, you are using it to shape your life. And in doing so, you become the conscious architect of your experience. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a participant in divine design. The power of your imagination is not determined by how hard you try to use it, but by how freely you allow it to work through you. There is no forcing here, only feeling, only allowing. And that is why relaxation is not optional, it is essential. When your body is tense, your mind is distracted. When your breath is shallow, your focus is scattered. But when you slow down, when you breathe deeply and let go of urgency, something beautiful happens. You begin to see clearly. You begin to feel clearly. You step into the experience of what you desire as though it is already your truth. And the universe cannot resist a being who already feels worthy. When you enter the state of relaxed imagination, you are no longer hoping for change. You are dwelling in the change. You're no longer knocking on the door. You're already inside the house. And from that place, there is no desperation, there is only embodiment. You are becoming what you once chased. And in that becoming, you collapse the gap between desire and fulfillment. This is why some people seem to receive with ease while others struggle endlessly. It is not about luck or chance, it is about alignment. Those who create with ease are not more deserving, they are more relaxed. They have learned to dwell in the end. They have trained their imagination to live in the outcome instead of the obstacle. And the result is a life that mirrors their inner world, rich with fulfillment, saturated with peace. Your imagination is the first builder of your reality. Every thought you think while relaxed becomes a stone laid on the path of your future. And the more joyfully and peacefully you imagine, the stronger that path becomes. But if you mix your imagination with fear, if you picture the outcome but feel unworthy of it, the energy becomes divided, conflicted. And the universe responds to the dominant state, not the fleeting thought, but the consistent vibration. That's why you must relax. Because only in relaxation can your vibration become pure. You are not weak for needing stillness. You are not lazy for needing rest. You are wise. Because in stillness, the whispers of your imagination become louder than the noise of the world. And those whispers, when believed, become reality. Not by accident, not by force, but by alignment. Your life will always mirror the world you hold in your mind. And the more lovingly you imagine, the more lovingly life will unfold. Not because you demanded it, but because you were calm enough to receive what was already yours. To relax is not to surrender in defeat. It is to surrender in trust. It is the invisible act of handing over your worries, your timelines, your calculations, and your control, and choosing instead to dwell in the state of quiet knowing. It is the boldest declaration of faith you can make, not because you've seen proof with your eyes, but because you felt it with your spirit. You no longer need to see signs to believe. You have moved beyond needing evidence. You rest because you already know it is done. The world has taught you that results come through force, that to receive you must strive, that to succeed you must push. And so you have been conditioned to associate tension with progress. But there is a higher truth, and that truth is simple. What is meant for you cannot miss you, not because you chased it with clenched fists, but because you became the version of yourself who welcomes it with open hands. That is what true faith looks like. Not running, not grasping, but waiting with grace, living with certainty, being still in power. You do not relax because everything is perfect. You relax because you have decided to stop waging war against the unseen. You stop trying to pull the future into the present through force, and you begin to allow it to arrive through alignment. You give up your need to constantly check, to constantly question, to constantly calculate, and instead you live from the state that it is already done. That state is not born from logic, it is born from spirit. And spirit is not noisy, it does not shout to be heard. It is calm, it is deep, it is quiet. The greatest strength is not in the muscles you use to climb. It is in the stillness you maintain while you wait. Anyone can act in panic. Anyone can run when they're afraid. But to stay steady when you cannot see the outcome, that is mastery. That is surrender. That is the highest form of courage. You trust not because things are easy, but because your faith is not shaken by appearances. You are no longer fooled by what your eyes tell you. You have been awakened to the truth that what matters is the state within. Relaxation is not the absence of action, it is the foundation of aligned action. When you move from relaxation, your actions are infused with clarity, precision, and faith. You are no longer reacting to fear, you are responding to inspiration. You're not scrambling to make something happen, you are walking in the energy of it is happening. And that energy changes everything. It turns doubt into confidence. It turns waiting into preparation. It turns ordinary moments into sacred ones, because you are living from the end, not waiting for it to arrive. Imagine the power of entering each day not as someone desperately seeking answers, but as someone who already carries the answer within. That's what relaxation does. It puts you in harmony with your true identity. It reminds you that you are not lacking, that you are not separate, that you are not abandoned in your desire. You are the channel through which the desire has come, and you are the vessel through which it will be fulfilled. The calmer you are, the more clearly that truth reveals itself to you. There is something magnetic about the person who is calm in the midst of uncertainty, who smiles without knowing how things will work out, who walks as though everything is being arranged behind the scenes. That kind of presence is rare, but it is powerful. It does not come from arrogance. It comes from communion with the unseen. It comes from dwelling in the truth that there is a divine order at work, and that your role is not to manage it, but to trust it, to believe in its timing, to honor its wisdom, to rest in its promise. People often confuse rest with inaction, but true rest is deeply spiritual. It is the act of stepping back so that what is meant to unfold can do so without your interference. You don't stop caring, you simply stop micromanaging. You don't lose focus, you gain trust. And in that trust, the tension melts away. The breath deepens, the mind softens, and the heart opens. You become a space for miracles, not because you chased them, but because you prepared a place for them to land. Every moment you spend in relaxed faith is a moment of alignment, and alignment is the path through which everything flows. Not because you deserve more than others, but because you have cleared the resistance that blocks most people from receiving. The universe does not play favorites. It flows where it is welcomed, and nothing is more welcoming than a heart at peace, a mind that knows, a soul that rests. When you live in that state, you do not plead, you declare, you do not beg, you embody, you become. You are not being asked to abandon your dreams. You are being asked to become so rooted in your belief that you no longer need to fight for them. That is what it means to relax in faith. You know it is coming, so you no longer chase. You no longer fear. You no longer carry the weight of how or when. You walk through life with your head held high, your energy clean, your heart soft, not because life is always easy, but because you have chosen to believe in something deeper than circumstance. This kind of relaxation is not passive. It is charged with silent power. It is the energy of someone who understands the laws of life, who knows that they are already connected to what they desire, and who allows that connection to become visible in its own perfect way. They do not rush the flower to bloom. They water it, love it, and let the sun do its work. That is the essence of trust. That is the essence of faith. That is the highest form of manifestation. Let others stress if they must. Let them grasp and chase and panic, but you, relax. Stand in your knowing, become still in your confidence, and let the universe do what it was already planning to do. Not because you begged, but because you finally believed. Not because you fought, but because you finally allowed. Relaxation is not the end of the journey, it is the doorway to everything you've been asking for. And when you walk through that door in peace, what you seek cannot help but find you. There is a secret law at work in your life, a force so subtle yet so powerful that it shapes everything around you. You do not chase wealth, wealth is drawn to you. You do not beg for recognition, recognition arrives at your feet. It is not about what you do, it is about what you are. The world mirrors your state of being. Look at those who move through life effortlessly, drawing abundance to themselves. What do they possess? It is not luck. It is not simply effort. It is a knowing, a deep, unwavering conviction that wealth is theirs. They do not run after it. They assume it. They see themselves as wealthy before a single coin arrives and the world responds in kind. Money, power, influence, all become inevitable because they have made the inner shift first. When you become super rich in your mind, the world follows. People will chase you not because you asked them to, not because you sought their attention, but because they recognize in you something they cannot resist. The one who possesses true wealth does not seek approval, does not beg for opportunity. They assume it is theirs, and so it is. Those who once ignored you, those who once doubted you, will return, eager to be close to the abundance you radiate. The world does not chase those who need. The world chases those who have. Not just money, but the consciousness of wealth. The inner reality of opulence that makes riches a mere reflection of the state within. To the one who dwells in abundance, wealth is no longer a pursuit. It is a consequence. Wealth is not something to be chased. It is not something that requires relentless struggle, nor is it something that only a select few are destined to have. Wealth, like everything else in life, is simply a reflection of an internal state of being. It does not respond to desperation, nor does it answer to doubt. Instead, it is drawn to certainty, to those who embody the consciousness of abundance. Look at the nature of the world around you. The things that seem to flow with ease are the ones that exist in a natural state of harmony. The river does not chase the ocean, it simply flows, knowing that the destination is inevitable. The tree does not struggle to grow, it simply exists in its full potential, and nature responds accordingly. The same principle applies to wealth. It is not something you need to run after, but something that naturally aligns with you when you understand how reality works. People are often conditioned to believe that wealth comes only through effort, sacrifice, or luck. They are taught that to be rich, one must chase opportunities, work endlessly, and prove themselves worthy. But if this were true, then every person who worked hard, struggled, and sacrificed would be rich. Yet the world does not work that way. There are those who toil endlessly and remain in lack, while others seem to attract money effortlessly. What separates them is not effort, but belief. The one who assumes wealth as their natural state will always attract it. The one who doubts their worthiness will always repel it. When you stop chasing and start embodying the consciousness of wealth, everything shifts. The energy of desperation and neediness repels what you desire, while the energy of certainty magnetizes it. Consider this: when someone is desperate for approval, they often receive rejection instead. But the one who stands in confidence, who needs no external validation, is the one who attracts admiration and respect. The same principle applies to money. If you are constantly chasing it, feeling as though you lack it, you are affirming to yourself and the world that wealth is separate from you. But when you assume it is already yours, when you walk with the quiet assurance that you are already abundant, wealth has no choice but to appear. This is why the rich get richer. It is not just about external resources, but about the state of mind they carry. They expect money to flow, and so it does. They see themselves as wealthy, and the world reflects this belief back to them. It is not arrogance, it is simply an understanding of how reality works. Those who chase wealth, who believe it is something outside of them, will always find themselves running but never arriving. The shift happens the moment you stop pursuing and start assuming. Think about the way people respond to success. When someone is perceived as successful, suddenly opportunities appear, people offer support, and doors open effortlessly. This is not a coincidence, it is the natural reaction to someone who already embodies abundance. The world mirrors your self-concept. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, that will be your experience. If you see yourself as someone who effortlessly attracts wealth, that will be your reality. To truly understand this, observe those who seem to have wealth without effort. They do not sit in doubt, wondering if money will come. They do not act out of fear, making decisions based on scarcity. Instead, they move with confidence, knowing that wealth is their birthright. They do not stress over where the next opportunity will come from, because they trust that opportunities are abundant. And because they trust, they receive. This is not about wishful thinking, it is about stepping into a state of being. The moment you stop chasing wealth, the moment you release the idea that it is something separate from you, is the moment it begins to flow. It does not mean you stop taking action, but the action you take comes from a place of confidence, not fear. There is a difference between working because you are afraid of lack and working because you know abundance is yours. One repels, the other attracts. If you want wealth to chase you, become the person who already has it. Think, feel, and act as if it is already yours. When you walk into a room, do so with the energy of someone who is abundant, someone who does not need to prove their worth, someone who already possesses all that they desire. Others will feel it. Opportunities will arise. People will be drawn to you, not because of what you say or do, but because of the energy you radiate. Consider the most influential people in the world. They do not beg for attention. Attention naturally finds them. They do not chase success. Success follows them. This is because they have assumed their position long before the world recognized it. They did not wait for external validation to feel wealthy, they felt it first, and the world conformed. You are always creating your reality, whether you realize it or not. Every thought, every belief, every assumption shapes the world around you. If you assume wealth is difficult, it will be. If you assume you must struggle, you will. But if you assume that wealth is already yours, if you step into that feeling now, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your inner state. The moment you truly embody this understanding, everything changes. People will notice. They will want to be near you. They will chase the energy you radiate, because wealth is not just about money. It is a frequency, a presence, a state of being. And when you become that, the world follows. Everything you experience in life first begins within you. Before anything manifests in the physical world, it must first be assumed in the mind. The assumption of wealth precedes its appearance. Those who appear to be effortlessly rich are not merely lucky, they are those who have accepted abundance as their natural state. They do not wait for external confirmation. They do not require proof. They assume it first, and reality conforms to their assumption. The greatest illusion is believing that circumstances create beliefs, when in truth, beliefs create circumstances. Most people think they must see wealth before they can feel wealthy. They think they must have money in their bank account before they can believe they are rich. But the truth is, the feeling must come first. The belief must come first. The assumption must be so real, so absolute, that it leaves no room for doubt. And when that happens, wealth has no choice but to appear. Consider a person who constantly thinks about lack. They wake up worrying about bills, about expenses, about not having enough. They assume scarcity as their reality, and so their actions, their emotions, and their energy align with that assumption. They hesitate to take opportunities, fearing loss. They avoid risks, expecting failure. They send out a vibration of need, and the world reflects it back to them. Now consider another person who assumes wealth, regardless of their present circumstances. Even if their external world shows no evidence of riches, they carry themselves as if they are already financially abundant. They make decisions with confidence. They do not dwell on what is missing, but focus on what is coming. They trust the unseen, knowing that what they assume must eventually take form. And because they hold this belief unwaveringly, their world shifts. The principle is simple yet profound. Assume the state and the reality follows. It does not matter what appears to be true in this moment. What matters is what you accept as true in your mind. The world is a mirror, constantly reflecting back to you what you assume about yourself. If you assume you are wealthy, life will organize itself to prove you right. If you assume you are struggling, life will do the same. Everything that exists now was once an assumption. Every fortune, every empire, every breakthrough began as a thought. The great innovators of history did not wait for proof before they acted. They assumed success, they believed in their vision, and the world shaped itself to match their belief. The same law applies to wealth. Those who are rich first assumed it to be their reality long before their wealth became visible. Most people misunderstand the power of assumption because they are fixated on external evidence. They believe they must see results before they can believe in success, but this is backward thinking. A person who insists on seeing wealth before believing in it is like a farmer who refuses to plant seeds until he sees the harvest. The assumption is the seed. It must be planted in the mind first, nurtured with certainty, and then it will grow into tangible reality. Wealth is not about effort alone, it is about alignment. There are those who work endlessly and still struggle, not because they lack skills or intelligence, but because they hold on to an inner belief in scarcity. And there are those who seem to move effortlessly through life, attracting opportunities, connections, and abundance, because they have already accepted wealth as their truth. They have assumed it, and so it must be. The moment you shift your assumption, everything begins to change. Your actions will follow your beliefs. When you truly assume wealth as your reality, you will no longer make decisions from a place of fear. You will no longer settle for less. You will carry yourself differently, speak differently, and move through the world with a quiet certainty that others will notice. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. Opportunities will begin to appear where none seemed to exist before. People will be drawn to you, sensing something powerful in your presence. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, not by accident, but because your assumption has reorganized your reality. The unseen forces of life will conspire to bring you exactly what you believe is already yours. The only reason this does not happen for most people is that they waver. They assume wealth for a moment, but then they look at their current situation and fall back into doubt. They let their present reality dictate their assumption instead of holding firm to their belief. The key is persistence. Do not let the outside world shake your assumption. Do not wait for proof. Assume wealth so deeply that nothing convinces you otherwise. You are not separate from what you seek. The money, the success, the prosperity, they are already yours the moment you claim them in your mind. You do not need permission. You do not need evidence. You only need to assume the feeling of wealth and trust that the world will bring it to you in ways you cannot yet see. When you live from the assumption of wealth, you no longer feel the need to chase it. You no longer operate from a sense of lack. You no longer question whether it is possible. You know it is yours, and because you know, it must be. The law does not fail. It is not a question of if, but when. Hold the assumption and let the world prove it to you. Money does not chase those who need it. It flows to those who already feel its presence even before it arrives in tangible form. The paradox of wealth is that it does not come to those who are desperate for it, but to those who already embody the state of abundance. This is why the rich seem to get richer, while those who struggle often remain in struggle. The difference is not in effort alone, but in the deep internal assumption of being wealthy. When a person carries the consciousness of wealth, they do not act from lack. They do not send out signals of desperation. They do not behave in ways that repel money. Instead, they operate from a state of certainty, from an unshakable belief that they are already in possession of the riches they seek. This belief shapes their decisions, their interactions, and the opportunities that flow into their lives. It is not money that people are drawn to, but the energy that wealth creates. A person who truly embodies wealth moves with a different presence. There is no anxious grasping, no need to prove themselves, no fear of loss. They give freely because they trust in their own abundance. They invest wisely because they know that wealth is a continuous flow, not something to be hoarded in fear. This mindset naturally attracts more wealth because money responds to confidence, not to desperation. Those who do not understand this truth often find themselves chasing after wealth, believing that hard work alone is the key. They run from one opportunity to another, hoping for the breakthrough that will change everything. But in doing so, they reinforce the belief that wealth is outside of them, something to be pursued rather than something to be assumed. They are always looking for ways to gain money, but they do not realize that true wealth is an inner state that must be claimed before it can manifest externally. Money flows where it is welcomed. If a person secretly believes they are undeserving of wealth, or that money is hard to come by, or that riches belong only to a select few, then these assumptions will shape their reality. They may work tirelessly, but they will find that money slips through their fingers, that they cannot hold on to it, that financial opportunities always seem just out of reach. Their external reality is simply reflecting the internal state they have accepted as true. And when a person shifts their consciousness and begins to see themselves as already rich, everything changes. They no longer make choices from a place of scarcity. They are not afraid to take risks when necessary because they trust in their own ability to create wealth. They do not see money as something that can be lost forever, but as a resource that flows in and out in perfect balance. This unshakable confidence makes them magnetic to opportunities. Others begin to see them as someone worth investing in, someone with vision, someone who is already successful, even before the physical evidence appears. It is not the money itself that makes people chase after the rich, it is the energy of certainty that they exude. People are drawn to power, to confidence, to those who carry themselves as if they have already won the game. A person who assumes their own wealth without doubt does not need to prove anything to others. They do not need validation. They do not need to convince anyone of their success. Their mere presence does that for them. This is why the rich do not beg for opportunities. Opportunities come to them. They do not run after people seeking approval or validation. Instead, people seek them out. Investors want to be part of their ventures. Friends want to associate with them. Strangers want to understand their secret. But the secret is simple. They decided to be rich long before the world confirmed it. The world is always responding to the energy you put out. If you believe you are already wealthy, life will begin arranging circumstances to match that belief. If you believe you are struggling, life will continue to reflect that struggle. It does not matter what your current reality looks like. It only matters what you accept as true within yourself. The moment you claim your wealth in consciousness, it must begin to take form in the physical world. This is why those who carry the wealth mindset never worry about money. They know that it is an extension of their inner state, and as long as they remain aligned with abundance, the material world will provide for them in ways they cannot predict. They do not waste time on fear or doubt. They do not wonder whether money will come. They know it will because it must. A person who assumes they are already rich does not hesitate to take action. They do not wait for circumstances to be perfect before making a move. They trust in their own ability to create wealth, and this trust leads them to the right people, the right ideas, and the right moments. Their assumption of abundance influences their decisions, which in turn shape their reality. Others may look at them and think they are simply lucky, but luck is nothing more than alignment with one's own beliefs. The rich are not waiting for permission to be wealthy. They have already granted it to themselves. And because they have done so, the world follows their lead. This is why money flows effortlessly to some and seems elusive to others. It is not about how hard one works, but about the state they assume as their truth. Those who see themselves as rich, even before their bank account reflects it, set the conditions for wealth to appear. Those who see themselves as struggling even when money is present will find that it does not stay. It is not enough to want wealth, one must embody it. One must live as if they already possess it, think as if they already have it, move through the world with the assurance that it is already theirs. The moment this shift occurs, the outer world begins to reorganize itself to mirror this new assumption. Money follows those who know it belongs to them. People are drawn to success not just because of what it represents materially, but because of the energy it carries. When a person becomes wealthy, something shifts in the way they are perceived. They no longer exist in the same frequency as before. They no longer struggle. They no longer seek approval, and they no longer operate from a place of lack. Instead, they move with confidence, certainty, and an undeniable presence that commands attention. The moment you step into wealth, you will notice how people's behavior towards you changes. Some who once overlooked you will suddenly remember your name. Those who never gave you time before will now find reasons to reach out. The same words you spoke in the past will now be received with admiration, simply because they are coming from someone who is perceived as successful. This shift is not accidental. It is the way the world operates. People follow those who appear to have something valuable, and wealth, whether in knowledge, influence, or money, is always seen as valuable. Wealth creates an aura of desirability. It signals power, influence, and stability. When a person becomes wealthy, their presence alone suggests that they have figured out something that others have not. This perception makes people curious. They want to be around success because they hope that by doing so, some of it will rub off on them. They want to learn the secrets, to understand the mindset, to see what sets the wealthy apart from everyone else. Those who once doubted you will now seek your guidance. The same people who may have dismissed your ideas will now be eager to hear them. It is not that you have changed fundamentally as a person. It is that wealth has amplified the value people assign to you. This is the nature of human psychology. People are drawn to confidence, and wealth reinforces that confidence in ways that few other things can. The way people treat you is a reflection of their perception of your value. When you had nothing, they may have seen you as ordinary, someone without influence, someone whose presence was not essential. But when you become wealthy, that perception shifts. You are now seen as someone who holds something rare, something others desire. And because of this, people chase you. They want your time, your energy, your validation. They want to be associated with you because they believe it elevates their own status. This is why those who reach great financial success often find themselves surrounded by people who once ignored them. The invitations increase, the opportunities multiply, and the same doors that were once closed suddenly open. Wealth has a way of changing the way people see you, and because of that, it changes the way they behave towards you. But this attraction is not only about external validation. It is also about the unspoken energy that wealth creates. When you no longer worry about financial survival, you move differently. You carry yourself with a different level of ease. You speak with a different level of certainty. You are no longer in a state of seeking, you are in a state of having. And this shift is something that people feel on an instinctual level. People chase wealth, but more than that, they chase the confidence and stability that come with it. They are drawn to those who appear unshaken by financial concerns, who operate with a sense of abundance rather than scarcity. This is why the wealthy do not have to seek approval or validation. It is automatically given to them by those who recognize the power that wealth brings. Even those who once dismissed your potential will change their tone when they see you rise. They will suddenly remember your talents, your intelligence, your ideas. They will act as if they always believed in you, but in reality, it is not you that has changed. It is their perception of you. The presence of wealth reshapes the way people view you, and because of that, it reshapes the way they treat you. This is the reason why so many people who attain financial success experience a shift in their relationships. Some connections will strengthen, others will fade, and new ones will emerge. It is not because money itself changes people, but because money changes the way people respond to you. Some will be drawn to you out of admiration, some out of opportunism, and some out of curiosity. But in every case, the dynamic shifts the moment you embody wealth. This is why the most powerful realization is that wealth is not just about money. It is about the state of being it creates. When you assume the mindset of someone who is already wealthy, you begin to move through life with that same confidence, and the world responds accordingly. People chase wealth because they believe it holds the key to a better life. But what they are truly chasing is the energy, the certainty, and the undeniable presence that comes with it. Wealth is not just about money. It is about the energy you carry, the way you see yourself, and the way the world responds to you. When you become rich, you step into a new identity, one that is powerful, certain, and magnetic. People are drawn to this energy because it represents something they crave: security, success, and the ability to navigate life with ease. Money is never just about material possessions. It is about freedom, confidence, and the absence of struggle. When you are wealthy, you are no longer seeking approval or chasing after opportunities. Instead, you move through life with an inner assurance that everything you desire is already available to you. This shift in mindset is what makes others take notice. They are not just drawn to your wealth. They are drawn to the self-assured way in which you carry yourself. When you have nothing, people often dismiss your ideas, overlook your presence, and question your worth. But when you become wealthy, the same words you once spoke are now received with admiration. The same presence that was once ignored is now recognized. This is because people assign value based on perception. Wealth shifts perception. It creates an aura of authority, and people are naturally drawn to those they believe hold power. Success changes social dynamics in ways that cannot be ignored. The moment you achieve financial abundance, you notice how people's attitudes shift. Some who never acknowledged you before will now find reasons to be near you. They will suddenly appreciate your insights, respect your decisions, and seek your approval. This is not because they have changed. Money amplifies the value people assign to you. People chase wealth because it symbolizes something far greater than money itself. It represents the ability to create your own reality, to move through life without constraints, to be free from the limitations that hold most people back. They are drawn to those who have mastered this state of being, hoping that by associating with them, they will absorb some of that power. This is why the rich do not have to seek attention. It comes to them effortlessly. They do not have to prove their worth because their financial status already speaks for them. The world recognizes those who have attained success, and people naturally gravitate toward those who appear to hold the keys to prosperity. It is not only strangers who are drawn to wealth. Even those from your past will suddenly see you in a new light. The same people who doubted you may now seek your validation. The same circles that once excluded you will now welcome you. It is not because you are fundamentally changed as a person, but because wealth has altered the way you are perceived. The presence of wealth reshapes relationships. Some connections will deepen while others will fade. Some people will admire you while others will envy you. But regardless of their emotions, they will be aware of you in a way they never were before. Wealth does not just change your financial status. It changes your social standing, your influence, and your ability to command attention. The world is drawn to confidence, and financial success reinforces confidence in ways few other things can. When you have wealth, you no longer move from a place of neediness or desperation. You no longer seek validation or approval. Instead, you radiate certainty, and that certainty is magnetic. People want to be around those who move with purpose, those who are unshaken by obstacles, those who operate from a place of abundance rather than lack. The more successful you become, the more people will want to align themselves with you. Some will seek guidance, others will seek validation, and a few will seek to benefit from your success. This is simply the nature of human behavior. People are drawn to those who exude power, and wealth is one of the most universally recognized forms of power. Even those who claim to dislike money are subconsciously attracted to those who have it. They recognize the influence it brings, the doors it opens, the respect it commands. They may criticize wealth on the surface, but deep down they feel its pull. This is why the wealthy rarely have to chase after people. People come to them. Wealth also creates a sense of mystique. People want to understand how you achieved success, what sets you apart, what secrets you know that they do not. They will seek out your company, hoping to learn from you, to absorb the mindset that allowed you to rise above limitations. This is why the rich often become thought leaders, mentors, and figures of admiration. It is not just about the money itself. It is about the wisdom, the presence, and the undeniable energy that comes with it. Money grants access not just to material things, but to experiences, opportunities, and social circles that were once out of reach. It changes the way people interact with you, the way they listen to you, the way they respond to you. The wealthy do not have to demand respect. It is given to them automatically by those who recognize the power that financial success brings. This is why wealth is more than just numbers in a bank account. It is a state of being, a shift in perception, a transformation in the way the world sees you. The moment you embody wealth, you begin to notice how people respond differently. They chase after your time, your approval, your energy. They want to be close to you because they believe that proximity to success will bring them closer to their own desires. Some will admire you, some will envy you, and some will try to benefit from your success. But in every case, they will be aware of you in a way they never were before. This is the unspoken truth about wealth. It does not just elevate your lifestyle. It elevates your status, your influence, and your ability to attract people effortlessly. The energy of abundance is magnetic. When you embody wealth, you no longer chase after people, opportunities, or approval. Instead, they chase after you. Not because you have changed as a person, but because the world now sees you through a different lens, one of power, certainty, and undeniable success. Money is not just currency, it is energy. It carries with it an invisible force that shapes the way the world perceives you. It changes the way people listen to you, the way they respond to you, and even the way they feel in your presence. This is because wealth is not just about numbers in a bank account. It is about the energy you radiate, the confidence you exude, and the power you command without saying a word. When you step into a state of wealth, everything about you shifts. You no longer operate from a place of lack or desperation. There is no need to seek approval to prove your worth or to convince anyone of your value. You simply exist in the knowing that you are abundant, that you are successful, and that the world bends to those who truly understand their own worth. This shift is magnetic. It pulls people toward you not because of what you do, but because of who you have become. People are drawn to those who seem untouchable, those who move through life with an effortless grace, those who radiate certainty. When you are wealthy, you no longer hesitate or second-guess yourself. You do not ask for permission. You do not shrink yourself to fit into spaces where you are not fully valued. You walk with an unshakable presence, and people feel it before you even speak. The energy of wealth is undeniable. It does not beg for attention, it commands it. People sense it in your posture, in your voice, in the way you carry yourself. They may not always understand why they are drawn to you, but they feel it. There is something about you that seems different, something that makes them want to be close to you, to learn from you, to be part of your world. This is why the wealthy never have to chase after people. People chase after them, not because of what they can offer, but because of the way they make others feel. When you embody wealth, you become a symbol of what is possible. You represent a life without struggle, a reality where limitations do not exist, a state of being where success is natural and effortless. People want to be near that energy. They want to understand it, absorb it, and somehow make it their own. Even those who once doubted you will begin to see you in a new light. They will suddenly remember your name, recall past conversations, and find reasons to reconnect. It is not because they have changed. It is because your energy has changed. The presence of wealth alters the way people perceive you, and in turn, it changes the way they behave around you. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach will now present themselves effortlessly. Invitations that were once withheld will now come freely. The rooms that once seemed closed off will now welcome you with open doors. It is not because the world has suddenly become more generous. It is because wealth carries an energy that cannot be ignored. It shifts reality in your favor. The world is wired to respond to abundance. People respect those who have mastered their own reality, who do not live in fear, who do not operate from a place of need. When you embody wealth, you radiate a quiet confidence that makes people want to be around you. They are drawn to the certainty, the ease, the knowing that you possess. This is why the wealthy attract admiration, curiosity, and even envy. It is not just about the material things they have, it is about the way they move through life. They do not rush, they do not scramble, they do not explain themselves to those who doubt them. They exist in a state of assurance, and that assurance is what people find irresistible. Money itself is neutral, but the energy attached to it is powerful. It shifts the dynamics of relationships, alters social hierarchies, and creates a gravitational pull that draws people in. When you understand this, you begin to see that wealth is not just about external success. It is about internal alignment. It is about knowing without a doubt that you are worthy of abundance and allowing that belief to shape your reality. The moment you embody this truth, the world responds. People who once overlooked you will now seek your presence. Those who doubted you will now speak your name with respect. Opportunities will flow toward you, not because you chase them, but because your energy has made it impossible for them to ignore you. This is the unspoken power of wealth. It is not just about what you have, it is about who you become in the process. It is about stepping into a version of yourself that no longer asks for permission, no longer seeks approval, no longer doubts its own worth. It is about owning your power and allowing that power to draw people, opportunities, and success toward you effortlessly. When you truly understand this, you realize that you never have to chase anything. The energy of wealth is a force that attracts, that commands, that reshapes the world around you. And once you step into that energy, everything you desire will begin to chase you. There is a power within you, a force so vast and limitless that it shapes the entire course of your life. You do not struggle to become rich. You assume the consciousness of wealth, and the world conforms to your inner state. The great secret is not in effort but in recognition, not in striving but in knowing. The moment you accept yourself as wealthy, abundance must follow. It is law, unshakable and absolute. Riches are not something you chase, they are something you embody. You do not hope for wealth, you feel it as real, as present, as already yours. The world outside is only the reflection of what you carry within. The poor man remains poor not because of circumstance, but because he has accepted the idea of lack. The rich man is not rich because of chance, but because he has embraced the feeling of wealth as his natural state. Miracles are not accidents. They are the inevitable result of an awakened imagination. The moment you accept yourself as limitless, doors open where none appeared before. You do not need to know how it will happen. That is not your concern. Your only task is to persist in the assumption that you already have all that you desire. Feel the weight of money in your hands, the joy of financial freedom, the ease of a life where everything flows effortlessly. Let it be more than a fleeting wish. Let it be a conviction so deep that reality has no choice but to reflect it. The world will tell you that wealth comes through toil, through struggle, through endless effort. But those who truly understand know that riches are not worked for, they are manifested. When you believe yourself to be abundant, life reshapes itself to match your belief. Suddenly, opportunities appear, unexpected gifts arrive, people are drawn to you, and success flows without resistance. You are no longer bound by limitation, for you have accepted your divine right to prosperity. You need not beg, nor plead, nor worry about how it will unfold. You need only to dwell in the feeling of already being rich, already having more than enough, already experiencing the freedom that wealth provides. And when you persist in this state, the outer world bends to your inner certainty. The impossible becomes ordinary. What once seemed distant is now at your fingertips. You step into a reality where miracles are not rare. They are the natural order of things. Wealth is not something outside of you waiting to be earned, fought for, or pursued. It is a state of being, a consciousness that you step into. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You no longer see money as something distant, something difficult to attain, or something that only belongs to a select few. Instead, you recognize that the wealth you desire already exists within you, waiting to be expressed in the outer world. The great misconception of the world is that riches come from external circumstances, hard work, luck, inheritance, or the right connections. But if you look closely, you will see people who work tirelessly yet remain poor, and others who seem to attract wealth with little effort. The difference is not in their actions, but in their beliefs about themselves. The wealthy operate from an inner state of abundance, while the poor operate from a state of lack. The truth is simple. The world mirrors your assumptions. If you see yourself as wealthy, if you deeply believe it, if you feel it as real, your reality will reshape itself to match that belief. Your mind is the only thing that determines your financial condition. You have been conditioned to think that wealth is something separate from you, something to be earned through struggle, but that is an illusion. The real cause of wealth is your inner state, your thoughts, your emotions, your deep-seated beliefs. If you carry the consciousness of poverty, no amount of work or effort will make a lasting difference. You may temporarily acquire money, but it will slip away because your subconscious does not accept wealth as your natural state. However, if you adopt the consciousness of wealth, money will flow to you effortlessly, regardless of circumstances. This is why so many who win the lottery or inherit fortunes often lose their wealth within a short period. Their external reality changed, but their inner state did not. They still carried the consciousness of lack, and because the world must reflect what is within, they found a way to return to poverty. On the other hand, those who are truly wealthy would remain so even if they lost everything. Their riches are not dependent on their bank account but on their consciousness. Because they assume wealth as their truth, they naturally rebuild and attract financial abundance again. The moment you fully accept this truth, miracles begin to happen. You stop seeing money as something that comes from outside sources and you realize that it flows from within. It is not about working harder or chasing opportunities. It is about aligning your mind with the feeling of already having wealth. This is not wishful thinking or fantasy. It is a shift in identity. You must feel as if you are already rich, not in the future, not someday, but now. When you embrace the state of wealth, you begin to think, act, and feel differently. You stop worrying about bills, you stop fearing financial loss, you stop feeling desperate. Instead, you exude confidence, certainty, and calm assurance. You make decisions from a place of abundance, not lack, and because the world must reflect your inner state, money flows to you in ways you never expected. You do not need to understand how it will happen. That is not your concern. Your only task is to remain in the feeling of wealth, to persist in the assumption that you already have all that you desire. The moment you let go of doubt and embrace the truth that you are already rich, reality has no choice but to align with your conviction. Doors open where none appeared before. Unexpected opportunities arise. People, resources, and circumstances conspire to bring you the wealth that matches your new state of being. Many people remain trapped in financial struggle because they believe they must first acquire money before they can feel wealthy, but this is backward thinking. The truth is the opposite. You must first feel wealthy before money can appear. The world is only a mirror reflecting your inner reality. If you constantly feel broke, if you constantly focus on bills and debts, you are reinforcing the very state you wish to escape. The only way to change your financial condition is to change the way you see yourself. Assume wealth as your truth. Feel the weight of money in your hands. Imagine living in the house you desire, driving the car you love, experiencing the freedom that financial abundance provides. Let it be real in your mind. Let it become your dominant state of being. When you persist in this feeling, it must manifest. This is not speculation, it is law. The world may tell you that you must work harder, that you must struggle, that wealth is reserved for a lucky few. But those who understand the truth know otherwise. Money is a reflection of consciousness, and your consciousness is entirely within your control. When you change your self-image, when you truly believe you are already wealthy, the world has no choice but to confirm your belief. There is no need to chase, no need to beg, no need to struggle. Your only job is to dwell in the certainty that you are rich, to feel it so deeply that reality bends to your assumption. When you do this, money flows effortlessly. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. Ideas come to you, people are drawn to you, unexpected opportunities arise. The outer world rearranges itself to match your inner conviction. You are not bound by past failures, nor by present circumstances. The moment you shift your consciousness, you shift your future. Stop seeing yourself as someone who must fight for wealth. Instead, see yourself as someone who naturally attracts it. Act as if you already have the financial freedom you desire. Feel the confidence, the peace, the security that comes with abundance. Let that be your reality now, and the world will conform to your assumption. You do not need to struggle, you only need to believe. The wealth you seek is already within you, waiting for you to accept it. The moment you claim it as yours, it appears. The moment you assume financial success as already yours, everything begins to shift. Wealth is not something that comes from outside, it is something you generate from within. The world does not give you riches and then allow you to feel wealthy. Instead, you must first feel wealthy, and then the world arranges itself to match that inner conviction. This is the great secret that so few understand. Miracles happen when you assume the feeling of already having what you desire. Most people believe that success is something they must chase. They look at their bank accounts, their circumstances, and their struggles, and they conclude that wealth is far away. They think they must first find the right job, start the right business, or meet the right person before they can feel financially abundant. But this way of thinking is backward. The truth is that success is not the result of external conditions. Success is the cause, and the external world is the effect. Many people spend their lives waiting for external proof before they believe in their success, but the truth is, the moment you assume it is real, reality moves to confirm it. The world around you will shift in ways you cannot predict. Unexpected opportunities will arise. The right people will come into your life. Money will appear in ways you never could have planned. This is the nature of assumption. It does not require logic or reason. It only requires faith in the unseen. Doubt is the greatest barrier to wealth. The moment you question whether it is possible, whether you are worthy, whether it will happen, you disrupt the process. This is why so many people struggle. They assume lack more strongly than they assume abundance. They give more attention to their fears than to their desires. They react to the outer world instead of shaping it from within. But those who understand the power of assumption do not waver. They do not wait for the world to show them proof. They provide the proof through their inner conviction. When you assume financial success is already yours, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You do not need to force things to happen, nor do you need to struggle. Instead, you move with a quiet certainty, knowing that your assumption will become your reality. You make decisions from a place of confidence, not fear. You expect things to work out for you, and they do. You feel secure in your wealth, and that security attracts more abundance. The greatest shift occurs when you no longer seek wealth, but simply accept it as part of who you are. The moment you identify as a successful person, the moment you see yourself as someone who naturally attracts money, the entire world rearranges itself to match that belief. Money flows to you in ways you never expected. Opportunities present themselves effortlessly. Financial miracles become a normal part of your life, rather than rare occurrences. There is no need to figure out the how. That is not your concern. The mind will always try to analyze, plan, and control, but the truth is that wealth appears in the most unexpected ways. The assumption itself creates the path. When you fully embrace the feeling of already being successful, reality bends to make it true. This is not magic, this is law. It works as surely as gravity. Your inner state determines what you experience in the outer world. If you want to see wealth appear in your life, do not wait for external validation. Do not wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment, or the perfect conditions. Assume it now, feel it now. Walk through life as if it is already yours. Speak as if you are already financially free. Think as if success is inevitable. Persist in this state, and the world will mold itself to match your conviction. Miracles do not happen randomly. They happen as a result of unwavering belief. The moment you assume wealth, life begins to shift. People start treating you differently. Money finds its way to you. Circumstances align in your favor. What once seemed impossible becomes effortless. And all of this happens not because you worked harder, but because you finally accepted wealth as your truth. There is nothing to force, nothing to chase, nothing to struggle for. Your only task is to dwell in the feeling of already being financially successful. Let go of the need to question, to analyze, or to control the process. Trust in the unseen, persist in your assumption, and watch as the world transforms before your eyes. Your external world is nothing but a reflection of your internal state. The wealth you desire is not something outside of you waiting to be attained. It is something that already exists within. The moment you recognize this, your relationship with money and success changes forever. Instead of chasing, striving, or struggling, you begin to understand that everything you seek is already present in the unseen realm, waiting for you to align with it. Most people look at their bank accounts and conclude that they are either rich or poor based on what they see. They believe that numbers on a screen determine their financial reality. But this is an illusion. The true cause of wealth is not the money you have, but the state of being you occupy. Money is simply an effect, a byproduct of your internal assumptions. The moment you accept this truth, you stop reacting to the outer world and start creating from within. There is a vast difference between someone who feels rich and someone who feels poor, even if their circumstances appear the same. One person may have very little money but carries themselves with confidence, ease, and certainty, knowing that their wealth is already theirs. Another may have millions yet live in fear, scarcity, and worry, always feeling that they must protect what they have or that it could disappear at any moment. It is not the money itself that makes one rich or poor. It is the state of consciousness. If you want to transform your financial reality, you must stop looking at your current circumstances as a measure of what is possible. Your bank balance, your job, your debts, these are all temporary reflections of past assumptions. They do not define you. What defines you is the state of being you choose to inhabit now. If you assume the feeling of wealth, regardless of appearances, everything around you must shift to match that inner state. There is no randomness in this universe. Everything you experience is a direct reflection of your dominant state of mind. If you persist in the assumption of being financially successful, reality will adjust itself accordingly. You will find that opportunities arise where none seemed to exist before. The right people will appear at the right time. Money will flow in ways you never could have predicted. This is not coincidence, it is law. The world cannot help but reflect back to you the state you embody. Many people struggle with this concept because they are conditioned to believe that they must work hard to achieve success. But effort alone does not create wealth. If hard work were the key, then the hardest workers in the world would be the richest. Yet we know this is not the case. It is not action that generates abundance, but the consciousness behind the action. The most successful individuals are not those who work the hardest, but those who move with absolute certainty, knowing that wealth is their natural state. This does not mean that action is unnecessary, but rather that action should be inspired, effortless, and aligned with the state of wealth. When you assume financial success as your reality, you no longer take action from a place of fear or lack. You do not chase opportunities, you attract them. You do not force results, they flow naturally. You are no longer desperate to make things happen because you know they are already happening for you. When you truly understand that the external world is a mirror, you stop fighting against it. You no longer waste energy trying to change circumstances from the outside. Instead, you shift internally, knowing that the outer world will follow. If you want to see more money in your life, do not focus on the absence of it. Focus on the feeling of already having it. Walk through life as someone who is financially secure, who expects success, who sees themselves as wealthy now. The greatest mistake people make is allowing their senses to dictate their beliefs. They look at their financial situation and say, "This is my reality," without realizing that they are simply reinforcing an old assumption. But reality is fluid. It changes the moment you change your state. The only reason circumstances remain the same is because people continue to react to what they see instead of creating from within. The moment you decide to feel wealthy now, before any physical evidence appears, the evidence must follow. Think of the world as a great mirror. If you stand in front of it frowning, expecting it to show you a smile before you change your expression, you will wait forever. The mirror only reflects what you present to it. In the same way, life can only reflect back to you the state of mind you consistently hold. If you want to see wealth appear, you must first embody it internally. This is why those who assume the feeling of financial abundance often experience what seem like miracles. Money appears unexpectedly, opportunities arise effortlessly, and doors open where there were once walls. But these are not miracles in the sense of breaking natural laws. They are the direct result of the law itself. Reality simply rearranges to match the assumption. There is no need to struggle, no need to stress, no need to constantly worry about how things will unfold. The moment you accept that the world is your reflection, you gain complete control over your experience. You do not need to figure out the details, nor do you need to force things to happen. Your only job is to assume the state of being that aligns with your desire, and the world will take care of the rest. Money is not a thing outside of you that you must pursue. It is not a force separate from you, nor is it something that comes to you by luck, chance, or sheer effort. Money is a reflection of your inner state, a mirror of your beliefs, assumptions, and self-concept. The wealth you desire is not something you acquire, it is something you allow, something you embody. The moment you shift your internal reality to align with financial abundance, the external world must follow. People are often conditioned to see money as something elusive, something that must be earned through struggle, hardship, and relentless labor. They are taught that wealth is limited, that opportunities are scarce, and that only a select few can ever attain financial freedom. These beliefs are deeply ingrained, passed down from generation to generation, creating a world where most people feel trapped by financial limitations. But these limitations are not real. They exist only in the mind, and because they exist in the mind, they continue to manifest in reality. Every financial difficulty, every struggle with money, every experience of lack is not caused by external circumstances, but by the internal state of being that creates those circumstances. If someone consistently sees themselves as struggling, as just getting by, as never having enough, their external world must reflect that assumption. They may work harder, they may seek new opportunities, but if the inner belief does not change, their financial situation will remain the same. They will always find themselves just surviving, never truly thriving. The key to financial transformation is not in doing more, but in being more. It is not about chasing money, but shifting into the state of someone who naturally attracts it. Those who are financially abundant do not live in fear of losing money, nor do they feel the need to constantly hustle for it. They operate from a different mindset, one of certainty, confidence, and ease. They expect wealth, and because they expect it, it flows to them effortlessly. This is the fundamental truth that governs all of life. What you assume to be true will become true in your experience. The external world is not separate from you, it is a projection of your inner state. The way you see yourself financially determines what you experience financially. If you believe money is hard to come by, it will always be out of reach. If you believe wealth is natural and effortless, it will come to you in ways you never imagined. One of the greatest shifts you can make is to stop seeing money as something you need and start seeing yourself as someone who already has it. This is not about denying your current reality, but about understanding that your current reality is simply a reflection of past assumptions. If you want to change what you see on the outside, you must first change what you accept as true on the inside. The moment you begin to embody the feeling of financial abundance, without doubt, without hesitation, everything around you will start to change. You will begin to attract opportunities that align with this new state. Money will come to you in unexpected ways. You will meet the right people, find yourself in the right situations, and experience the kind of financial ease that once seemed impossible. But none of this happens by accident. It happens because you shifted internally first. Most people wait for external proof before they believe something is true. They want to see the money in their account, the opportunities in front of them, the evidence that things are changing before they allow themselves to feel wealthy. But this is the very thing that keeps them stuck. The world does not change first, you do. The outer world only rearranges itself to match the assumptions you hold within. This is why those who assume wealth, even before they physically have it, find themselves surrounded by financial success. They are not pretending or forcing themselves to believe in something false. They are stepping into a reality that already exists within them. They are aligning with a state of being that naturally attracts the circumstances they desire. It is not about hoping, wishing, or waiting. It is about knowing. The moment you decide fully and completely that you are financially abundant, the universe has no choice but to reflect that decision. Your subconscious mind will begin to lead you toward actions, ideas, and connections that bring your assumption into physical form. But none of this requires force or struggle. It requires alignment. Think of someone who is already wealthy. They do not spend their days worrying about money, stressing over bills, or fearing the future. They move with certainty, with confidence, with an ease that comes from knowing that money is always there for them. They do not chase wealth, it follows them. This is the state you must embody now, even before the physical evidence appears. When you truly understand that money is a reflection of your internal world, you stop seeing it as something external. You stop worrying about how it will come, when it will come, or whether you are deserving of it. You simply accept that it is already yours, and because you accept it, it must appear. This is not wishful thinking, this is law. The same law that governs all creation governs your financial reality. Doubt is the only thing that can slow this process. The moment you begin to question whether it is working, whether you are doing it right, whether you are truly capable of attracting wealth, you create resistance. Your mind starts looking for external proof, and when it does not immediately see it, it reverts back to old patterns of scarcity and fear. This is why persistence is key. You must remain unwavering in your assumption of financial abundance, regardless of what your senses tell you. Do not be deceived by appearances. What you see now is only a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. It has no power over you unless you continue to give it power. If you react to what you see, you reinforce it. But if you hold firm to your new state of wealth, the outer world must conform. Money is not your source. Your job is not your source. The economy is not your source. You are the source. Your assumption, your state of being, your internal reality is what determines your financial experience. The moment you fully accept this, you will stop depending on external factors and start creating from within. The world may try to convince you otherwise. It may tell you that wealth is only for a select few, that you must struggle, that you must sacrifice, that financial freedom is difficult to attain. But these are just stories. Stories created by those who do not understand their own power. You do not have to accept these limitations. You can choose to step into a new reality at any moment. The question is not whether you can be rich. The question is whether you are willing to assume the state of someone who already is. Are you willing to let go of doubt, to release old beliefs, to step into a version of yourself that expects wealth rather than hopes for it? The moment you do, everything will shift. Money will no longer be something you struggle for. It will be something that naturally flows to you. The world will rearrange itself to reflect your new state, and financial abundance will become your reality. The moment you recognize yourself as the creator of your financial reality, the way you interact with money changes. No longer is money something you chase, something you fear, or something you must work endlessly for. It becomes an extension of you, a natural expression of the state you dwell in. This realization transforms the way you think, act, and feel about wealth, and as a result, the world around you shifts to reflect this new understanding. Many people believe that money is outside of them, that it is controlled by forces beyond their reach. Economic conditions, job opportunities, business trends, or the generosity of others. They believe that financial abundance is determined by external circumstances, and so they spend their lives reacting to the world rather than shaping it. They allow the numbers in their bank accounts to dictate their emotions, their sense of security, and their self-worth. But what they fail to see is that the outer world is only ever reflecting the inner world. The numbers they see, the opportunities they encounter, and the financial situations they experience are all projections of their internal state of being. To change your financial reality, you must first change the way you see yourself in relation to money. Do you see yourself as someone who struggles financially, who always has just enough to get by, who must work hard for every dollar? Or do you see yourself as someone who is naturally wealthy, for whom money flows easily and effortlessly, who always has more than enough? Your answer to this question determines your experience. It is not the economy, the job market, or luck that shapes your financial destiny. It is the assumption you hold about yourself. When you fully embody the state of wealth, your thoughts, feelings, and actions align with financial abundance. You begin to expect money to come to you in ways you may not even consciously anticipate. You carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is financially free. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than fear. And because the outer world must conform to your inner state, money flows to you in ways that seem almost miraculous. People who live in financial struggle often look at wealthy individuals and assume that they are simply lucky, born into privilege, or given special opportunities that others do not have. But this is not the case. True wealth begins with an internal shift. Those who are financially abundant have mastered a different way of thinking about money. They do not see it as something scarce or difficult to obtain. They do not attach fear, doubt, or anxiety to their financial situation. Instead, they see money as something that naturally flows to them, something that is always present, something that exists in infinite supply. This shift in perception is what creates real financial transformation. It is not about finding the perfect investment, landing the highest paying job, or working longer hours. Those are external factors, and while they may contribute to financial growth, they are secondary to the inner state that attracts wealth in the first place. The foundation of financial abundance is an unwavering belief in the certainty of your wealth. This belief is not a passive hope. It is a knowing. It is a deep, unshakable understanding that money is always present in your life, that it is always flowing to you, that you are never without it. When you step into this state, you begin to see evidence of it everywhere. Unexpected opportunities arise. People come into your life who guide you toward financial success. You develop ideas that lead to increased income. Money comes to you in ways that seem completely unrelated to your past efforts. And yet, none of this is coincidence. It is the natural result of your internal shift. Doubt is the only thing that can interrupt this process. The moment you allow fear or uncertainty to take over, you shift back into a state of lack, and your outer world adjusts accordingly. This is why so many people experience financial ups and downs. They briefly step into the state of wealth, see some positive results, but then allow doubt to creep in. They question whether their financial success is sustainable, whether they truly deserve it, whether something will happen to take it all away. And because they entertain these thoughts, their reality shifts to match them. Money begins to feel unstable again, opportunities seem to dry up, and they find themselves right back where they started. To truly embody wealth, you must remain unwavering in your assumption of financial abundance, regardless of what your physical reality shows you in the moment. If your bank account balance does not yet reflect your inner state, it does not matter. It is merely a reflection of past assumptions, and it will change as soon as your inner state remains consistent. Do not allow temporary appearances to dictate your belief. Know that wealth is yours, and it must manifest. Think about those who never worry about money. They are not constantly checking their bank accounts, stressing over bills, or hesitating to spend. They move through life with ease, with a sense of certainty that money is always available to them. This certainty is what keeps money flowing. They do not repel it with fear, anxiety, or doubt. They allow it to come because they expect it to be there. You can cultivate this same certainty by training your mind to dwell in the state of financial abundance. Each day, instead of focusing on what you lack, focus on what you already have. Instead of worrying about how money will come, assume that it is already on its way. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who must work tirelessly to survive, see yourself as someone for whom wealth is natural and effortless. Your mind is the creator of your financial reality, and the moment you shift your assumptions, the world will rearrange itself to reflect them. This is not a matter of wishful thinking. It is the fundamental law of creation. What you assume to be true must become true in your experience. If you assume money is hard to come by, it will always feel out of reach. If you assume wealth is natural and inevitable, it will flow to you with ease. Let go of the belief that money is something separate from you. It is not something you must chase or struggle for. It is an extension of your consciousness, and it responds to the state you dwell in. The more you align yourself with financial abundance internally, the more effortlessly it will appear in your external world. The key is consistency. You cannot waver between abundance and lack, believing in wealth one day and doubting it the next. Your external reality takes shape based on the state you most consistently occupy. If you remain steadfast in your assumption of wealth, if you hold firm to the knowing that money is always present in your life, then nothing in the world can prevent it from manifesting. The process is simple, yet most people overlook it because they are conditioned to believe that wealth comes only through effort, struggle, and sacrifice. But true wealth is not about working harder. It is about aligning with the state of being that naturally attracts money. It is about shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, from chasing money to allowing it to come. When you reach this understanding, when you fully accept that you are the creator of your financial reality, you will stop seeking external proof and start living in the certainty of your wealth. You will no longer need to ask whether money will come. It will simply be there, as it always has been, waiting for you to claim it. The world will rearrange itself in ways you never imagined, bringing financial opportunities, success, and prosperity into your life with effortless ease. Wealth is not about the numbers in your bank account or the assets you own. It is a state of being. The external world only ever reflects the internal world, and when you shift your inner state to one of absolute abundance, the physical world has no choice but to conform. This is the secret behind financial miracles, the unseen force that allows money to flow effortlessly into the lives of those who understand it. Most people chase money because they believe it is something separate from them, something they must acquire through hard work, struggle, or luck. But the truth is that money is not a thing outside of you. It is an expression of your consciousness. It moves in response to the beliefs you hold, the assumptions you live by, and the emotional state you maintain. If you see money as something difficult to obtain, your world will reflect that struggle. If you see it as something that flows to you naturally, it will appear in your life with ease. Wealthy individuals do not spend their time worrying about money, chasing after it, or fearing its loss. They live in a state of certainty that money is always available to them. This certainty is what keeps money flowing. They do not repel it with doubt or desperation. They allow it to come because they expect it to be there. They do not work harder to earn more. They align with the energy of abundance, and wealth follows. To shift into this state, you must first recognize that your financial reality is a reflection of your dominant assumptions. If you believe that wealth is out of reach, that money requires struggle, that financial security is uncertain, then your life will provide you with endless evidence to support these beliefs. But if you shift your assumption, if you begin to see yourself as someone who is naturally abundant, for whom money is always available, then the world will mirror this new belief back to you. Many people believe they must first see evidence of wealth before they can feel wealthy, but this is the exact opposite of how reality works. The feeling must come first. You must embody the state of abundance before the physical world arranges itself to reflect that abundance. If you wait for proof, you will be stuck in an endless loop of lack, because your external reality is only ever a reflection of your internal state. The moment you claim wealth as your present reality, without needing to see evidence of it, the world begins to shift in ways you cannot predict. This is where miracles happen. Money appears from unexpected sources. Opportunities arise that were never there before. People come into your life who guide you to financial success. And yet, none of this is coincidence. It is the natural result of your internal shift. The world is always responding to your dominant state of being, adjusting itself to match the energy you emit. When you dwell in the state of financial certainty, wealth must come to you.